Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Then check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something to inspire you. That's dealtohealteas.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.com. Again, that's dealtohealteas.com. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Hey guys, this is Ernest James, host of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. And I got a question to ask you. Could you buy me a cheeseburger? Better yet, could you buy me a value meal? Yes? Well, guess what? I don't need a value meal. However, for the cost of a value meal, you can support this podcast to keep us on the air. Just go to Patreon/Deal to Heal podcast and choose any one of the 3 tiers that's available. And if you just want to make a one-time donation, go to Cash App and make a donation to $EJames, the number 418. Make a one-time donation to the Cash App, or again, go to Patreon to support this podcast and keep us on the air. Thanks in advance. Be blessed. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast.
Thank you.
Ernest James, no problem. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is healed, whole, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our new YouTube channel. We have changed the channel from the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast to the Deal to Heal podcasting network. So make sure you guys go check out our new YouTube channel, the Deal to Heal podcasting network, where we have already multiple podcasts on that YouTube channel so that you guys can check that out, including our partner podcast, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James, which is myself as your host. And on that podcast, myself, along with other girl dads, talk about our relationships with our daughters, raising our daughters. And also, we also have daughters on to talk about the relationships with their fathers in order to combat the narrative of the absent father and the fatherless daughter. You guys will definitely enjoy that. So make sure you guys check that out. Also, if you guys have ever thought about starting your own podcast, you guys can get a copy of the ebook, Start Your Podcast Now, in only 3 steps. That's right. Start your own podcast in only 3 steps, which I wrote from my experience and from helping other people start their podcast. You can go to ebooksbyejames.com, ebooksbyejames.com. The link is in the description of the podcast. So make sure you guys go there and check it out. Also, you can win $100 from the podcast, right? But you have to stay until the end of the episode to find out how, right? So make sure you guys stay there to the end of the podcast, which I'm sure you will. But stay to the end of the podcast, and I will tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. Also, the product of the week. As you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and the way that we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products to purchase in order to support the podcast. And so, this week's product of the week is our um, purpose planner and our purpose journal. As you guys can see, those that are watching on YouTube, our purpose planner and our purpose journal. I believe that we should journal our life, right? So that we know where we've been and where we are, and then also plan for our future. So that's the journal, purpose journal, and purpose planner, which both can be found on Amazon, and also the links are in the description so that you guys can look those things up and be able to get a copy of those. And I really believe that they will help you. So you guys might want to check it out. So make sure you go to the link in the descriptions and see everything that we have there, all the information that we have put there for you to find. But today, just like any other day, we are blessed. Excuse me. We are blessed with the guest, Miss Carlia. How you doing? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. Forgive me, I'm choking.
Yep, that's right. It's Carly.
Okay, cool. All right. So first of all, let me say thank you for being on. Because you could have been anywhere else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. So thank you for coming on. So let's jump
Yeah, I'm
right
blessed to be here.
in.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem, no problem. You're gonna jump right in and do me a favor. Introduce yourself to my listeners and tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. So, I am a holistic mental wellness coach. And essentially, what I do is empower mental warriors, people struggling with anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder to overcome their mind, the struggles of their mind, without using medication. And I am so passionate about natural and holistic mental wellness because I've actually healed my own mind from all of these and more. But bipolar being the biggest one, that is very rare for people to actually overcome that without medication. That it's very possible and it's very achievable. And I love sharing that knowledge and wisdom and empowering other people to do the same thing.
All right. So let's go back a little, right? Because I always know that there's a story before the story. I always know that there is a story of your story that happens before you get into doing the work that you do. So let's just go back a little and tell us a little bit about Carly and who you were prior to starting this journey. The work that you do, and why is it so important for you now to help other people get through it?
Yeah. So, like all healers, we have those really dark times that bring us onto healing journeys. And my darkest days actually began when I was 12 years old and planning on taking my own life. And Ernest, I think it's so amazing that you also have the podcast about girl dads and father daughter relationships, because I had a really turbulent relationship with my father. He was also undiagnosed with bipolar disorder. We didn't speak about mental health. We didn't know it was really a thing. And he and I really butt heads. So I grew up with all of these deep-seated beliefs that I was unloved, I was unworthy of love, because I wasn't receiving that from my family and especially from my father. Little did I know he loved me more than anything in the world. And now we've mended our relationship and he's one of my best friends. But growing up, I didn't feel that at all because we were both unwell. So my depression and anxiety morphed into a lot of different symptoms as I was growing up, from disordered eating to substance abuse to really intense anxiety. I couldn't leave my house without full face of makeup, and was still so afraid all the time of what other people were thinking about me. Just really intense social anxiety there through high school, which is normal to some degree. And I thought it was just normal at the time. But after coming out of it and reflecting back on how much it was affecting my life, I realized it was actually not at all normal, and that it's also really not normal to be suicidal at 12 years old or at any age. But
Right.
But ultimately, it wasn't until after I was through that I realized how dark and scary that time actually was in my life. So when I was 17, my dad was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And that's when everything started to really shift. It was like, okay, we're now aware that mental health exists. And it's not that this human was just angry and, being a jerk. It was that he was actually sick and struggling and needed help. So I started to develop some compassion, some forgiveness for him at that stage. But then I was diagnosed with not yet bipolar, but with ADHD, anxiety, and depression about 4 months later. And from there, it became my biggest fear in the world that I also had bipolar disorder. I was so afraid that there was a potential for me to maybe treat my children the way that I had been treated when I was growing